Tonight we're going to talk about the difference between the Pro Series and the Basic Series lathe. I get asked this question a lot, so I'm going to try my best to show all the differences between the two and why you should choose one above the other. Alright, first and most obvious difference is the headstock. On the left we've got the Pro Series headstock. On the right we've got the Basic. And if we look at them from the back end, we can see the hole through the center of the headstock is a lot bigger on the Pro. 35 millimeters, 1.38 inches. That'll allow you to place a entire butt sleeve or joint, whatever you want, through the headstock, where the Basic measures a touch under 15 millimeters, actually 580 thousandths of an inch. So when you go to stick an object through there, you can just get the tip of a shaft through. A lot of people think I'm just going to buy a lathe and start building pull cues, but the main two types of lathes are going to be a wood lathe or a metalworking lathe, machinist lathe. A machinist lathe has a hole through the headstock where you can actually pass an object through it, versus a woodworking lathe typically works from putting a point or center of some type here or chucking it up and grabbing the other end of it with a center and a tailstock. So you're working between centers versus through the center. What this does is it allows you to pass something through, hold it in the chuck jaws, and have just a minute amount sticking out that you're machining on. And these will both work the same, but like I said, the obvious difference is how big of an object can you pass through this guy. The next big difference between the two are going to be the gear racks. Here I have two beds. We have a Basic bed and a Pro bed, and as you can see, the bed top's the same. The U channel, which is this part here underneath the bed, are both the same. The gear rack on the Pro is 42 inches long, so it runs pretty much the length of the bed, where the gear rack on the Basic lathe is only 10 inches. And what does this mean? Well, when you're working with a lathe like this, a metal type lathe, this carriage slides up and down the lathe. We have a hand wheel that has teeth on it here. This is called a pinion gear on the end of the hand wheel. And it will go in and these teeth allow you to advance it up and down the bed of the lathe. On a Basic lathe, this carriage can really only move 10 inches because you're going to run out of gear rack right here. On the Pro Series lathe, you can run this carriage the whole length of the bed. The difference between these two are, on the Basic lathe, you really don't need more than 10 inches, because on this carriage you'll mount a cutter, and this cutter is what will allow you to cut on the end of a shaft or ferrule material, whatever you're cutting. Since you can only pass a small piece through here, imagine that's a shaft, you really don't need more than 10 inches. I mean, really, you probably only need an inch or two. On a Pro Series lathe, it'll allow you to do more full cue work. Now you can take this carriage, you can slide it all the way up and down the lathe. What good does that do? Well, you can mount a regular cutter on here. You can mount a router on here. So you want to turn a 29-inch piece of wood from square to round. You can add a power feed, and that'll allow you to run that cutter all the way down the length of wood. Can't do that on the Basic because you only got 10 inches. Another thing to note is on these two gear racks, the teeth are different. So we've got a wider, deeper tooth on the Pro than we do on the Basic. This Basic's called a 64 pitch gear rack. This one's called a 48 pitch gear rack. Less teeth mean less you turn this wheel, the faster it'll advance up and down the rack. They're a little deeper. The reason for that is as you're cutting wood, you're going to have chips and debris that'll get caught in these teeth, so you get a little better bite from the hand wheel. One thing that's important to note is between the two, this black one here, this is the basic hand wheel. Comes with an eccentric. The eccentric is the part that locks into the carriage, and then the pinion gear is the part that sticks past the eccentric. The Pro Series has a little bit bigger hand wheel, but also has a different pinion gear that has the teeth to match the gear rack on the Pro Series lathe. It also has an eccentric that matches the diameter of this pinion gear, which is a little bit larger than the one that comes with the basic. The whole point of the basic is really to keep price point low for a guy that wants to just do tip and ferrules, shaft cleanings for his self, home shop kind of use. I mean, you certainly can bring it out to tournaments, do whatever you need to do. We've always wanted to try to keep the price point of this basic lathe, you know, something where you can get into this for under $1,000. So that brings me to my next thing. If you haven't noticed, this basic lathe used to be $8.99. Also, just to say, this is January of 2026, so if you're watching this video sometime in the future, these prices may be different than what we're talking about today. One of the things that I never was a big fan of on this basic lathe at the $8.99 price was the motor that it came with. It had an AC motor. It had a mounting bracket that was totally different than for this Pro Series lathe. It had a belt that was totally different. I'll tell you that from sales history, I've sold a lot of belts for the old AC motor. It was an O-ring belt. I'm going to have to say it probably didn't hold up nearly as good as the belt that came with the Pro Series lathe, so I've been looking for a better motor solution. The reason for the $100 price increase is we found the motor solution. So, mounting bracket system for the motors is this here, two parts. We've got a motor mounting bar, we've got a motor mounting plate. This bar mounts to the back of the headstock with some T-nuts. Motor mounts into the end of it, something like this. The old motor mount bracket, see if I can find one to show you, was this. Wasn't really a fan of this. Not real impressive. And the scary thing, it's more impressive than what was available when I actually bought this company, so I didn't like it, so I came up with this, which was a little bit better, but now we got something a lot better. This bar, we've got this plate. Now we have one plate that works for the large 750 watt Pro Series motor. We have this other 4-bolt plate that works for the 550 watt motor that we've just announced for this lathe. They both use the same mounting system. It's less parts to stock. It's more interchangeable, more modular if you want to do an upgrade in the future. Now they both use this belt. This is a 1/4-inch section V-belt. Much more rugged belt. I've had one of these belts on my lathe now for going on 11 years. I've changed it 2 times. One time was my own fault. I turned the lathe on with the headstock locked down, and I wore a spot in the belt. Started making a lot of bumpity bump noise, so I went ahead and changed it, but the belt didn't actually break. It held up very well. Let me show you this too while we're at it. Pulleys on the two motors. So the pulley is an indexing pulley. You see all these notches in it. It has a thumb screw. You can lock it into place. This is used for cutting ring billets, points, whatever you need to cut around a cue. Say there's 24 of these. If you want to do 4 points, you'll count every 6th spot, lock it down, and that'll divide the, give you 4 equal rotations. Now with this new motor system, the basic headstock has the same indexing pulley on it. Now we do not ship it with the indexing bar if it's something you feel like you want, which I don't really see where you'd need it on a basic lathe. We can sell you this indexing bar separately. So back to the motors. This is a traditional 750 watt DC motor with a 1/4-inch V-belt pulley on it that has come on the Pro Series lathe. And now we have its little brother. This is a 550 watt DC motor. Same 1/4 inch pulley. It's got a smaller shaft. We have the same quick connect on each motor to connect to the quick connect on the speed control box. So now we have 2 DC speed control boxes. We have this smaller guy for the 550 watt motor. We have this larger one for the 750 watt motor. The 750 watt version has a reversing switch, so you have forward, center position off, reverse, and we have a foot control port on the front of it. The basic motor is basically on off with a speed control. We don't currently have a foot control for this 550 watt motor controller. We're working on something. It's not gonna be the same as the Pro where it plugs straight in the box. I think the solution for this will be something that'll intercept the regular 110 volt AC power. You'll plug the foot control into this. There's no reversing. If reversing something you guys think you need, let us know. We'll come up with a solution for it. I don't really see a need for reversing. The only time that we ever reverse is if you're doing a wrap on a cue. You can do them in both directions. Some guys like to do them one direction versus the other. One other thing to consider at the cost difference between these two machines is the accessories that come with the Pro Series lathe. Most notable are going to be modified drilling tailstock, which is $100 by itself. We get a 4-jaw steady rest, it's $180 by itself, and a concave live center, which is $35 by itself. So you get pretty substantial costs in these 3 items that are included with the Pro Series, but not with the basic. The basic actually comes with this. Here's a 25mm steady rest. What this does is it supports the back end of the cue while you're turning the shaft or whatever. This here, you got to put a collet in it and you have to move it wherever it collet grabs. This guy here to me is almost a necessity. You can grab it any diameter you want up to about 1.38, 1.4 inches anywhere along the bed of the cue. Like I said, these 3 parts are included with the Pro Series, plus you get a few extra collets and whatnot with the Pro that do not come with the basic. We've certainly lessened the gap between these 2 machines by upgrading this motor. The old motor was 250 watts, where this one's 550 on the basic, and the Pro is going to be 750 watts. So that's a huge power increase. The duty cycle of the new motor, being a DC motor, is substantially more than the old AC counterpart from the old basic lathe. And then the fact that the motor brackets in the belt are more modular. If you want to upgrade or downgrade, I don't know why you would do that. Makes it a lot simpler to do. These are the 2 main lathes that we offer. That's the differences between the 2. Hopefully this will help some of you guys make a decision. A lot of times people will buy a basic lathe and they'll reach back out to us within the first month or 2 and say, man, I wish I'd have bought the Pro. And that usually happens because you buy the basic, then you end up buying these couple parts here. At that point, you've spent the same amount of money as if you'd have bought the Pro from the get-go, almost. The fact of this extended gear rack and this hole through the center, it's just a lot more that you can do with the Pro Series lathe. But to each their own. Different people have different needs. If you have any questions for us, it can help you make a choice. If you're on the fence between one or the other, feel free to shoot us a message, give us a call, whatever you need to do. Jump on our Facebook group at Mid-America Lathes, or like our Facebook page, Keymaker Supply. You can always message us through there. You can send us an email. We're trying to get a community growing at the Mid-America Lathes site on Facebook, or the Mid-America Lathes group. I feel like it's always good to get guys together. Everybody's got a different set of eyes, a different take on what can be done, different ways to do it, ways to improve things. I'm a big fan of that. I think we should all try to sharpen each other. Stay tuned for more. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you need anything in the meantime, just let us know. See you later.